Hey everybody, it's Andy here, aka Montolio, and we are back for another Vintage League. And as we're ramping up for Eternal Weekend, I am strongly considering running the Hexvine deck, as I have found it to be very good. And I've made some changes here that you're going to see. Specifically, I have shaved down on one Hexdrinker. This is just a deck that is a victim of so many good cards that you want to be playing in the main deck. And a lot of my focus right now is trying to make sure that my mana base is as consistent as it can be without having a Bazaar in play. And I am going to be trying 4 Cradles, uh, Gaia's Cradles, and 3 Yavimaya Cradles of Growth because I think they're both very vital cards to making this deck work. In addition to that, I am ultra impressed with, first of all, the way that we're able to consistently cast non-Bazaar spells. And Beseiju is one of those that I have found just so very good. It's hitting Oath of Druids, it's hitting Breach, of course it hits Constructs, Urza's Saga, and of course the two most vital in Sphinx of the Steel Wind and Bolas the Citadel. I have moved up to a 4th in the sideboard, 2 in the main, 2 in the sideboard for this. I've also moved up to a second Mindbreak Trap, being able to identify that one of the shortcomings of this deck is its ability to fight Dredge. And it can fight other Bazaar decks reasonably well, but Dredge can just get ahead of this deck. And having a blanket effect, very similar to what Endurance does, except, of course, Mindbreak Trap or Ravenous Trap is a far more potent spell than Endurance if it resolves, because it can just cripple your opponent to the point where they can't come back. I acknowledge that Ravenous Trap has been out of style for quite some time because of those aforementioned Bazaar decks that Root Wallows mitigate the value of Ravenous Trap. But it's okay to have distinct hate cards in your sideboard that are focused solely on one match, and we have been doing that in Vintage forever. And I think we've gotten away from that, looking directly at utility. And I am therefore going to try bringing Ravenous Trap back because I expect to see Dredge at Eternal Weekend, and I expect it to do well. It is a very grotesque and potent deck, and I take it quite seriously, and therefore I am allotting those 2 slots without any flexibility for any other matches to the Dredge matchup. And of course, we have lots of other cards for the Dredge matchup as well, as you can see, that are across the board can play other Bazaar decks. But that said, guys, I don't want to talk too much about this list here. I want to get into some games and see how we do. Okay, so we will see you in round 1. And before we do, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and feel free to leave any comments. I do typically respond to them. We'll see you then. Hey everybody, it's Andy here, aka Montolio, and we are back for round 1 of our Vintage League, and we are playing Hexdrinker Bazaar today. Hexvine, as I like to call it. This looks like a pretty good hand. We're going to keep this one. Unfortunately, we're on the draw. We don't really have any interaction for what our opponent may do. But of course, this deck is limited in that capacity on the draw. We don't have... basically, we have Force of Vigor to be able to respond to what our opponent is doing. But that's okay because our deck is pretty explosive in general. Our opponent is down to 5 cards here. See if we're up against Bazaar. Locks, okay. Shops, how interesting. Okay. Well, to me, that indicates some level of weakness here. I do think I'm going to take this opportunity to wasteland my opponent, and hopefully we can just get into next turn a Force of Vigor to be able to cripple our opponent. Okay. So we did find a hollow one here, which is pretty good. I think we take the hollow one. We do have the Yavimaya Cradle to be able to help us out. Ooh, that Lotus was really nice, guys. Okay, so we want to discard this. We want to discard Hogak. So how can we do this here without getting absolutely ravaged by a workshop into a tabernacle? I don't think I'm willing to play around it right here. I think it's okay. We're going to get some Hexdrinkers going here. Do I want... Oh, they've just conceded. Very interesting decision point in this particular spot. Did I want to cast a second Hexdrinker? Did I want to cast a Once Upon a Time? I can already cast Hogak with the Hollow one in play. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, that does work. And of course, we cast the Once Upon a Time. That fuels as well. I think it's a little bit of a scary decision point because had our opponent played a Mishra's Workshop into a Golos, which is a very likely play that they could have, we could absolutely get blown out by that. But there's no way to play around that given the line that we have chosen to do. We went to use our Lotus. And there is a world where it was probably correct to sit back, but obviously we did choose the greedy line, and of course my opponent did not have the Golos with all likelihood, or the Workshop. So just interesting talking points. We will take that win for sure. So we definitely want a snow-covered forest in our library because it's possible that our opponent is on Ghost Quarters. It is a possibility. I think that this is a world where we want Deathrite Shaman to be able to ramp a little bit. I don't think Chalice of the Void is where we want to be. I think Collector Roof is okay. Now, of course, we don't really know what our opponent is on. There is a world where we may want some number of endurances as well. And the reason that I mention that is that taking them away from recurring crucibles can be really powerful. That's what Deathrite does, in addition to being able to ramp us in a pinch. It's not reliable because of the presence of Revokers in all types of workshop decks. So we have some cuts to make here. I think Blazing Rootwalla is a fairly weak card in general. I don't think it's what we're looking to do. I think Collector Roof is perhaps okay, but on the draw, I don't typically like it as much. We are reliant on having some of these cards available to us, and they're not nearly as powerful in this matchup. But they could be vital from getting us out from underneath a sphere or something of that nature. 40 seconds here. We do need to make some cuts. I think Hexdrinker in general is not very good. That said, it could get through a big Golos or a big Snake or something like that. So I think it is worth at least testing it to see if we can keep it going. Let's try this. The Hexdrinker I'm trying to flex a little bit in some slots where my gut is that we really don't want them. Because they have won me some games where I otherwise would have lost. And like Dredge, I've won a couple games against Dredge with a Hexdrinker, and you would just think that Hexdrinker is not very good in those matchups. But it has shown me otherwise. So what does this hand particularly do? Not much. We do have Visagus. If we find a Bazaar off the top, it could be very good. But otherwise, this hand is fairly weak. We do have some time to draw. So let's talk this through. If I'm going to find something off my Once Upon a Time, and certainly it would be a land that I'm looking for. If I find a Bazaar, this hand could become solid. If I don't find a Bazaar, I'm kind of on trying to waste my opponent out. I'm going to have to use one of the Visagus to try and cast some of my creatures, and that's not really that great. I don't have a Force of Vigor. But I can shore this hand up pretty quickly if I find a Bazaar. But this hand is really bad otherwise. Like, we're kind of trying to trip our opponent up. I just tend to think that this is not good enough. And this is much better. I do highly value having some of the lands in our hand like we had last game. They're pretty good, Spyglass. So that roasts me pretty solid here. So the other hand was a lot better based on that. So they're going to get our Bazaar. And hopefully we can find a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. And this is one of the situations that my testing partner Will and I have been looking at as a distinct problem for us up against workshops, is that I actually got myself caught in a spot here where I am on a Bazaar only hand, and I am possibly in a position where I could lose from here based on that. So in this particular situation, I don't really want my opponent having an expedition map. We have an answer for it. I am going to Once Upon a Time in response. Be very careful with this, folks, as you need to get yourself out of these spots. If you mental misstep first, your Once Upon a Time is garbage. And of course, this is such a vital situation for us. I do think I'm going to take the Boseiju here, and I'm going to hope that we can find something else here somewhere along the line. Boseiju does help us cast our spells here. We could Wasteland as well, but I don't think that's really a winning line. I'm going to take the Boseiju here. And we're going to mental misstep this just because we have the opportunity to do it. We're going to pass turn, and we hope we can find a Force of Vigor. Bazaar is off. We will going to cast a Root Walla. I am currently running 3 Yavimaya Cradles of Growth, and this is specifically one of the reasons I'm doing so, is Spyglass. So had we kept our opener, and I thought about it a little bit more, I think I could have found my way to keeping that hand, despite it completely suboptimal. Will they name Bazaar again here? It's probably the correct line to do. And hopefully they have no land here. Like, we would have been off to the races with the previous hand if they have no land here, because we would have wastelanded them. Procedural. Okay. They did have a wasteland there. Okay. Yep. I'm going to play it out. 1, because I have a second one, and 2, if we find a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, it allows us to immediately cast a Collector Roof, which is pretty powerful. Just waste it. That would be so sweet if they did. Okay, they're playing a 3-ball. So we're in a lot of trouble, but the game is not over here. I'm going to play the second one out for the same reason as the first, and it also disincentivizes them to wasteland us to some extent, because they know that we have, yeah, Boseiju's fine. So this is definitely a Golo Shops deck we're playing against. Okay, I was going to say, if that was Yavimaya, we'd be off to the races, guys, but I'm going to play it. And we have 3 Cradles, Yavimaya Cradles of Growth in our deck, and we have 4 Gaia's Cradles in our deck. This seems like the Golos. Okay. They're probably just going to go get a Tabernacle is my guess, but they might get a Saga. And they might get a Wasteland to try and take me off of my mana further. Okay, it's a Saga. Yeah, guys, not looking good here. We're kind of bricking a little bit. We have 18 lands in our deck, the way it's currently configured, so we have lots of ways to find lands here. But this, unfortunately, this Urza Saga is going to get out in front of me. I'm going to take it because I need this Root Walla for Gaia's Cradle in the event I can find it. Okay, there's a Force of Vigor. This could change the complexity of the game somewhat if I can find that Cradle. Yep. They should have really waited till I attacked there to see if they could ambush me. I did see it, but my opponent chose to be proactive, and which is fine, but poor sequencing on their part. You want to take the edges you can get, and if I had have attacked there, they could have just stolen my root wall. So I think this is the turn where we need to find Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. It is our only out at this point. We're going to be dead very quickly. I do have to take this hit. We can still survive a Golos hit, and I would have to... Okay, we did not find it, so a little bit of a disappointing loss there. But not surprising. Okay, we definitely want Chalice. I think I do want the Blazing Root Wall on the play. I just don't think Hexdrinker is where I need to be in this particular matchup. I think this is fine. Four Besajus. Hate to powder away 2 Vigors, but it's just an easy powder. I mean, there's a nice looking hand. We've got the Cradle to protect ourselves. We're going to keep this one. Now, for those of you unaware, I typically like to use my Once Upon a Time before exposing my Bazaar. It's not as relevant in this particular matchup because when I do have a Bazaar in my hand, I sometimes like to bait that I don't have one, and desperate opponents will counter a Once Upon a Time, which is typically a pretty good 2-for-1 for you for free. That said, I do have a Bazaar here. We're not playing Bounce Counter Magic. Now we're strictly looking for Vengevines. So we are just going to cast it and see if we can find a Vine. And we didn't. I think I want the Wasteland here. I think we're past Bazaar of Baghdad at this point. And we're going to have our turn on the play. And hopefully we can find like a Chalice. Would be very good. We didn't. Okay. And we just have to hope our opponent doesn't have a turn 1 Golos. Turn 1 Golos is definitely going to get us pretty good, but there's not much you can do about it. That's why I wanted the Chalice. I mentioned the Chalice here. Our deck has ways of beating Tabernacle with main decks Moxes in it and Black Lotus. But of course, that's a small percentage are going to find them. And we are always still vulnerable to a turn 1 Tabernacle where we don't have them. So this could just be a Golos here. Pithing Needle. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that noise in my background. Unfortunately, I'm quite close to my window here. And there's somebody that's got a chainsaw going right outside my window. Actually, it's a leaf blower. Okay, well, we are facing an Urza Saga. And they can do that next turn. I guess the question I have is, do we want to expose ourselves? Like, how much does that Saga token matter? Probably does. Like, if they had a Golos, they would have just done it, right? I mean, it's living dangerously. I'm not pleased to do it, but I really think that it's going to be more sizable than I care to battle. So I'm going to do this, and hopefully next turn we can just kill them with Cradle. It may be an unnecessary risk to do this. They conceded from the game, and we won the match. Okay. I think this is one that we need to go back and look at. I think there were a couple turning points in this game where I think we could have played them better and we took unnecessary gambles in order to enact our game plan. One, using the Black Lotus in game 1, should we sat back on and prevented Tabernacle. We took a gambit and it ended up working out. And same thing here. Should we have played the Gaia's Cradle and let them have that? We were going to pump up with our Cradle. And we were going to hit them for 8, 9, 10, 11. We were going to put them down to 5 life. And even a Saga token does not save them the following turn. I believe that was the mistake on our part. That said, No, it should have worked out. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We're going to see you for round 2. Hey, everybody. Here we are for round 2, and we played Yashuada earlier. They were playing a 4-color Deathrite deck. We ended up losing to them. They were only our only loss last league. How do I feel about this hand? I think it's worthwhile, but this is a mid-range deck. There's a world where the Hexdrinker can just be a really powerful play, and if I find a Bazaar, I think it's solid. I've got an answer for a Deathrite. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to put a Hogak back. It's a little bit of a risky keep, but Hexdrinker is just so good against what my opponent's likely doing. Once again, further to last game, we have to be careful if we're going to misstep here, and I think it's fine to do this. Let them have a look. I'm after the Deathrite more than I am the Gitaxian Probe here. But you want to Once Upon a Time before you cast your mental misstep. I cannot tell you how many times I have done that, where you get excited for a Force of Vigor or the misstep, and you end up turning yourself off your Once Upon a Time, which is such an important card in the matchup. Okay, did we find a Bazaar? We did not, but I think Gaia's Cradle is a card we are interested in. And we're going to attempt to get rid of this. Okay, that worked, and that's a pretty big game. So is that. Now, they know we have the Hexdrinker. It is possible that that's ended up getting countered, but there's not much we can do about that. And we're just going to do our best to try and get this thing pumped up. And next turn, we're going to have it out of instant range, which is going to be a pretty big game. Now, we're going to need some help to ensure that it doesn't die, but okay. Doesn't work. It does work. Okay, well, that's a 4/4, guys. It cannot be hit with instants or sorceries. So there is a world where we can, next turn, potentially get this into ultimate. Which is huge before Oko comes down. Okay, well, here it could be Oko. Unfortunately for us, that's a bit scary, but there's a Dark Faden. No, it's Oko. Yeah, that's so unfortunate, guys. They had the Mox there to get up ahead. I was feeling really good about that, but unfortunately, it is what it is. That was actually a reasonable draw. I only have 3 mana, though, sadly. So next turn, they're going to stand up their Mox, right? Like, do I want to knock them down further here? I think I do. I think I want to go after them. And we have no other play. This is 2/3. We cannot cast Hogak, obviously, or would not have attacked there. So we'll see if they just create a token here, or what are they going to do? I don't feel like I'm in a good place here. They still have 3 cards in hand, and they have a whole bunch of mana. So they're going to stand up their blue Mox. Seems like the correct one. This feels like a DAC. Okay. Let's see what they do here. I'm going to take our green Mox. Okay. Not bad. Takes us off Hardcast Vine here. Okay. That's not bad. I can get them down to 5. I think I just attack with the Vine and the Hexdrinker. The question is what do I go after? Like, Dak is a bit of a scary card here. I can't manage Oko, I know that much. I think I just have to go after them as best I can. Like, they're just going to block with their Mox, stand up another Mox. But there's a world where if they block my Vengevine here, that I could just get it back. I do apologize about the background noise. Once again, guys, the neighbor is having their lawn blown. Okay, I'm reasonably pleased to see that. I don't want my Cradle to die here, but it's not the worst because it expedites my Hogak. Yeah, not in a good spot. Oko is really tough to beat here. I've got 2 active mana. They can stand up my Mox here. Okay. What are we looking for here off the top? Regavan, interesting. Okay. So we're not getting through here. Deathrite is not great for me. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing to see the Deathrite come down. But that's the world we're living in, I guess. And that was one of the worst draws we could have had. 4, 5, 6. I can't actually do anything here. Very disappointing. All right, well, let's see what they can do here. The fact that we can't actually deploy anything there is problematic. Why didn't I cast the Serum Powder? I think it's probably better served in my hand right now for Bazaar fodder. Bazaar is probably one of the few ways that we're going to be able to take over this game. And like having a generic Serum Powder on the table is not likely to increase my chances here. And now this is, of course, one of the risks. They did get my Cradle. But that's going to fuel us, as I mentioned last turn, for our Hogak, which is not the worst. Okay, we can't beat Minx and Boo. You know what? Let me see what they're going to do here. There is a possibility they make a mistake. As I said, Bazaar can change the math here quite a bit. Yeah. I'm going to pump. No attack. Okay. All right. Good game. Just a tough match. I feel like my opponent is just kind of grinding me out a little bit here. The Planeswalkers are really tough. I don't think Force of Vigor just is where I want to be. I don't think we need more than 2 Besejus. To be honest, I just don't even really like Force of Vigor at all in this matchup. It's not where my focus is. Let's try something like this. Hexdrinker is a way we can win here. I was feeling reasonably pleased with our line there, getting this up to a 4-4 last turn, and we were very close to being ultimate, but my opponent sandbagged the Mox, being able to go into a quick Oko, a turn 2 Oko. Their deck is not fast enough likely to be able to race a Hexdrinker, even with the presence of Oko, once it's into ultimate mode. But this is feeling like a little bit of a difficult matchup. My opponent has taken all 3 games from us so far that we've played them. It's a decent hand. Once again, I do like the misstep. I can appreciate it here. Let's see if my opponent has Leyline of the Void. They did last game, and once again, this is the type of hand where it seems to be somewhat impactful against what I'm doing. Quite often, and more often than not, in my experience, the graveyard hate is marginal at best against our strategy. We're not focused on the graveyard as our primary win condition. We can just cast our spells from hand reasonably reliably. But, of course, a byproduct of being able to do that is you are sometimes stuck with awkward hands where you have cards like Collector Roof and Hexdrinker in your hand, and you're not wanting to discard them to Bazaar. And so there's always a little bit of an awkward tension. My opponent is down to 5 cards here. I can only imagine they're actively looking for Leyline of the Void. There is no Leyline, which is good news for us. Let's cast a Once Upon a Time here and see what we find. I do like Gaia's Cradle. The problem with our hand, the way it is set up here, unfortunately for us, is that what's the likelihood that we get our Vengevine going here? It's pretty small. Gaia's Cradle doesn't do anything for us unless we find something here to be able to put onto the table. So I'm going to take the Basking Rootwalla in hopes of being able to get the Vengevine going here. Okay, so we did do it. We're going to discard Vengevine, Rootwalla, Vengevine. And we're going to hope that our opponent does not have a way to remove our Vengevines from our graveyard. Ravenous Trap is off, as I mentioned in my previous video, if you've seen it. This is one of the reasons why Ravenous Trap has gone out of style, is because I cast a Rootwalla here, I only discarded 2 cards, not 3. And what we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of the Collector Roof, and we're going to get our vines going here. Or we're going to hope to, anyways. Now, if my opponent doesn't have a Tabernacle, this is pretty good for us. We don't want to do anything because we want to be able to fuel our Hogak. And we can't actually cast Hogak, but that's okay. We're going to pound in for 8 damage, and we have to just hope my opponent does not have a Tabernacle Pender Veil. We do have the misstep for a quick death right, which could help spur them out. So they do have the Tabernacle. We got punished. That's okay. That's the way it goes. Well, it's not okay. I mean, it's probably game ending for us, but we do have a chance at getting them back, potentially, and that could kill my opponent. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to draw a card, and if we find a Rootwalla, I am apt to Bazaar. I'm probably going to Bazaar regardless, but let's see. Our sole focus right now is trying to get those Vengevines back into play and being able to protect at least one of them. via Tabby. Let's see what we find here. Okay, Wasteland is not the worst. Do think I'm going to Bazaar here and see what we can find. Okay, well, I did not quite get there. I could cast Deathrite Shaman here, or I can wait until next turn to attempt to do it again. I am going to be a little bit greedy here and wait. I really want to have an ability to cast 2 creatures in a turn if I can. Now that's one of the lines that punishes me here, is my opponent did find a Wasteland. Okay, that's not overly helpful. So we are now off that plan. Okay, my opponent let it go. Okay, I'm going to pay with my Mox here, and the reason is that I want to be able to get a Hogak into play if I do find a Bazaar or something. I think we just got to get our damage where we can, guys. This is definitely suboptimal. Having the 3 vines in play is big, big game for us. If we can somehow find a Bazaar or something, our opponent is likely to kill us, though, before we get there. The Black Lotus most certainly points towards that. This is just likely an Oko, is my guess. Yep, can't stop an Oko. Not very good, is it, guys? I could cast the Blazing Root Walla. This is feeling really rough here, guys. That Tabernacle got me really good. My opponent's having a laugh at us here. Yep. Take my Mox. Just free to do so. I don't see a reason not to pay with my Deathrite. I mean, it's free to do it. I'd shave their graveyard down a tiny bit. Okay, here we go. Once again, my opponent can elk my Mox, but it's not ideal for them to do that because I don't have to pay with a Tabernacle because it's textless. I maybe wanted to hold that as well. I'm not even sure. I kind of feel like we need a bazaar. Maybe it was a mistake. I think I will pay this turn. We need to start forming a plan here, though. Okay, Cradle was a good one. What I can do next turn. I'm going to play this out because I need to keep my stuff around for Tabernacle. I turned their Tabernacle into a mana, but maybe they won't see that with their Tabernacle. I guess they don't need to tap anything, of course. Okay, let's see what they find. There is still hope here. Now, had I made the play of not playing the Root Wall and Mox out, I might have had a different result here. Now, of course, this is very upsetting that my opponent has a Wasteland here. That was the risk. But it just is what it is. Yeah, Minx and Boo is pretty scary here. We needed that land, I think, pretty badly. I guess Cradle could be okay here. I think we need a Bazaar, though. It's a lot of damage. I think I'm going to just get rid of the Root Wall here. Okay. If I had that other mana here, I could have cast Hogak and animated 3 vines. Just going to take a tremendous amount of damage here. Okay. It's a situation like this where I look and I go, I wish I had a Hooting Mandrills in my hand. We're probably just dead right here, but like that Boo is just, they're going to completely refill their hand. We played the way we needed to play, in that we do not want to give this opponent time with their deck, and they just had the Tabernacle, and that was the bottom line. And they just sacrificed this, right? Yeah, 4, 10. They just kill me. Well, I got a block. Otherwise, they just sacrifice this and kill me. Yep. Okay. Bazaar? A Bazaar does do it. If I can find another Root Walla. Let's see if we can make it happen, guys. Close, but no cigar. All right, guys, they got us. There's nothing we can do here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And that's twice Yoshiwata's got us with this deck. And I would think we're favored against this deck. But It has not been the case. They got us really good with Leyline and, or not Leyline, Tabernacle that game. I think maybe we made a slight play error with the Mox and the Root Walla here. I think it was probably beneficial for us to hold back. I'm pretty sure that it was possible for us to potentially get that those vines going, but c'est la vie. Minor nuances can cost you a game. I'll see you guys next round. Hey everybody, Zandy here, aka Montolio. We're back for round 3 of our Vintage League. We are playing Hexvine, and we played this opponent on the weekend in the top 8, the Swiss, and they were playing PO, I believe. Actually, maybe they were playing Tinker Breach. Hard to remember. They were on combo, but this is not combo with all likelihood. Maybe they're playing the Jeskai that I played in the final. But regardless, I think this is a good hand. We're keeping this one. My opponent, Twinless Twin, played a pretty cool Jeskai Breach deck. It was just, this is what it is for sure. Mishra's Bauble. I bet you this is Jeskai. Okay. Two cards on the bottom. How about a Wasteland? Okay, I'm not. I'm pretty happy to see that actually. Let's get our Bazaar going here. Oh, so great, guys. And we can start pumping up our Root Walla next turn via the Mox Ruby, should we choose. That was a really nice hit for us there. Now the question is, do we want to play our Mox Ruby? And I don't know that we do. If it is Breach, we also have the possibility of casting Boseiju next turn. Wasteland, okay. We've already used our Bazaar. I'm going to get in. I acknowledge Ragavan is a thing here. We're going to cast the Root Walla and our Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. And that will stop a Ragavan, or they have to expend removal on it, which will not be easy. Okay, this was one of the reasons to have not done what I did. But we still have an answer for Breach here, should they do it. And I do believe they're going to value Breach me here. Okay. This will not be an easy one. They obviously have swords here, but I still can kill them through a swords because I have a Boseiju in hand. And I am going to play it out. I'm going to make them do their business against us here. Yeah, so once again, the versatility of the land set here. What my opponent was going to do was Swords to Plowshare or Vengevine, and we were only going to be able to hit them for 3, 4 damage. But because we had the extra land to pump, we could hit them for 3, 6. We could pump this, 7. It was lethal through the swords. So very nice win for us there. Now my opponent is playing a Breach deck. I am pretty sure that this is the Jeskai Breach deck that we played against the other day. I don't think Deathrite Shaman offers me a lot in this matchup because we don't have black to remove their spells. I do like Chalice of the Void because it shuts off their combo. I don't think we're in on Hogak, despite I like Hogak very much. I think Hexdrinker is solid in this matchup. Jeskai Breach. Swords also makes this not nearly as good. I do like Collector Roof for being able to shut off their combo. We've got Boseijus here. Well, we just can't have it all. I think Blazing Root Wall can likely get shaved down. I think we can cut a Hexdrinker. Like, Hexdrinker's decent, but it's not amazing. The reason I'm bringing in the Besejus, maybe I don't need all of them for the Breach combo. Maybe I can cut down on them. I think Force of Vigor is pretty bad in general. Maybe I just like Beseju just a lot better than I like Breach here. And maybe I can just bring these guys back in. I'm really just not keen on Force of Vigor in these type of matchups. Yes, if I get caught with my pants down and they get a turn 1 needle on my Bazaar, it's possible that it could get me, but we are built to be able to combat that exact line with 3 main deck Yavamayas. Create a little growth. All right, what do we got here? This looks like an easy powder. If this misses, gets forced, I can cast this, and the following turn I'll have an oof. Yeah. If we hit the Bazaar, it's great. If we don't, not so great. The Ragavan? Nope. This is a risky keep, but it's got a lot of potential to it, and Cradle is pretty good. Obviously, Wasteland could nix us here a little bit. Like Tormod's Crypt, yeah, okay. I guess it shuts off my youth potentially, but Black Lotus is so damn good. Just get Bizarre, right? Yeah. Let's see if they force us. Be interesting if they did. I am wondering if I just cast a Collector Roof here, then Bazaar. Force of Will, okay. Let's go. It's pretty damn good, to be honest with you guys. Believe it or not, I could actually Chalice at 1 here, shutting off swords. I don't mind that, to be honest with you. I got my oof. Kind of like having the Mox, but the Chalice is just so good against their shenanigans. This is a gamble. I think I am going to set a Chalice on 1 here. Yep. Taking their swords away is no joke here. And their cantrips. Yes, it shuts off a portion of my deck. I acknowledge that I'm trying to get in here with these Blazing Root Wallows and Hollow ones. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Doc Faden sucks, but okay, there's Lurrus. Lurrus doesn't do a whole lot right now. I could Boseiju their Tundra. They'll get another one. Churning does absolutely nothing for me. Yavimaya is solid here. I can only presume that I'm going to be facing Lurrus here. Or a Breach kill. I don't think I need to do anything, to be honest with you guys. I honestly think this is okay. Like, I can deal with a Lurrus. The combo kill is, I think, the scariest thing for me. Okay, this is not a Lurrus. Yeah. Time Walk is fine. Yep. Can't stop that. Okay, so they are going to get a crack at me here with Lurrus. Another crack at me. We don't have this one yet, but okay. Well, there you go, guys. That's the first time I've cast Chalice on 1 in my matchups with this deck. Chalice on 1 it shuts off a large portion of our deck in our 8 Root Wallows and our 4 Hex Mages. We only actually have 3 Hex Mages in this particular match. Deathrite Shaman. But the Gambit was worth it this time because we're playing a cantrip heavy deck that has 4 Swords to Plowshares, which is the true boon that my deck is facing. And we were able to get our Root Walla into play, our Blazing Root Walla, with a Mox Ruby. And that Gambit was enough to be able to apply enough pressure with the Hollow one to win the game. My opponent could not get through the Chalice of the Void there. I think that was a really nice win for us. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you next round. Hey everybody, it's Andy here, AK Montolio, and we're back for round 4 of our Vintage League. Siolfo is a combo player, and more specifically a PO player. And we did lose the die roll. This is a little bit unfortunate, but we do have some minor interaction and mental misstep, and we have a turn 1 Collector Roof. I think that this is a reason to keep this hand. PO is a match that I've been looking to actively play against with this deck because I think it's probably its truest number 1 weakness. So let's see. Ponder. How do I feel about Ponder? I think I'm going to proact. Oh, I didn't use my Once Upon a Time. Oops. I've been preaching that all league, and look what I just did. Not a very good line, is it? Well, I will say that that is pretty disappointing. A very big mistake on our part to fall victim to that. But that's what happens when you commentate sometimes. You make the mistakes, and they can be very costly. So my opponent does have force of will here. That actually was a very costly mistake for us because that could have been an animated Vengevine for us with a hollow one or something of that nature. So a little bit unfortunate. So we didn't get completely punished here. I don't think we need to worry about proactively going after the Tundra here. It's still a castable card off the Cradle here next turn, so I think it's fine. End of turn, I will go after their land here. I realize that Saga is a possibility from them. But we have a Once Upon a Time here that we can potentially get going. Play around Flusterstorm. That, and I'm also getting a little bit tired. This is my second straight league today, and um, got up pretty early to get my kids to school and stuff, and doing some work in between. So suboptimal, but it's just something to be aware of. It does happen. I've done it many, many times in the past, and just to be aware of that. Don't get overly excited with your instant spells. Always remember your Once Upon a Time. Okay. I think we're okay to pump here for 8-11. I think we just attack in and hold up Boseiju. We have them more than dead next turn. Just unnecessary to do the pump there. Like Sphinx of the Steel Wind is a little bit rough on us, and Boseiju we have an answer, or Citadel we have an answer to. So nice win from us there, guys. Definitely want all my Boseiju. I'm really enjoying the flexibility with the fourth Boseiju here. I do think we want Mindbreak Trap. I don't think we want Hogax here. Endurance, I think they run Yogwill. So we could consider that. We definitely got a Blazing Root Wall, and I don't think we want Hex Mages. I think this is nice. Where the Hex Mage really shines is in matchups where you're playing against any type of mid-range deck, much like we just played last round with the Swords to Plowshares in it, Lightning Bolts, they're bug, they're reliant on their removal to be able to handle their creature-based decks, and that's where I think it really shines. And of course, as I mentioned in my previous video, if you've seen it, that I have tested the limits quite a bit with Hexmage in non-Hexmage matches, and Dredge being the most surprising one of the lot where I've kept it in, and it's won me 2 significant matches in that matchup, and you would just never think that at first sight with the Hexmage. So, but as I'm starting to get a little bit more serious with my sideboarding as we move closer to champs, in a combo matchup, really this is just not where Hexdrinker is going to shine. And, I could see a spot where if they get a Monastery Mentor down and you need to push that last 4 damage through or 6 damage or whatever, that Hexdrinker could win you a game in those spots. But that's very fringe. And I don't foresee that being a situation where it justifies playing the card in your deck. So this is a nice looking hand here. We're going to keep this one. And once again, let's try not to make the mistake we made last game. Now this time we are penciled into, do we actually want to use the Once Upon a Time if we need to use our Force of Vigor here? Opponent smartly got an island. Okay, so they're on Pithing Needle here. I'm going to name Bazaar. I don't think we want to go after it. I don't think we want to do that. I'm going to play the Bazaar here, and I'm going to try and set up an opportunity next turn. We'll see what they do here, but we have Force of Vigor as an option, followed up by a hard cast Collector Roof. So they are absolutely going to fight over a Force of Vigor. Not what? Okay. If we draw a card, we can consider Once Upon a Timing here. A green card, I meant. And we didn't. Going to class Collector Roof here. If this gets forced, and it did, we then have the option of Force of Vigoring. Okay. Funny enough. Okay. I could Besage you this. I think I'm going to do that. Suboptimal. My opponent's struggling on lands here. And let's see what we can do here. Still have Force of Vigor up of note. We can easily play around a Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale. And that's a nice strong turn from us. Now, we could just die here this turn. It's very possible. We have used our Beseiju, but we have 3 more in our deck that we can Once Upon a Time for next turn. If our Force of Vigor works, it does not work, or is not relevant here. I mean, my opponent is going to play out a Mox and try and tinker us almost assuredly. Okay, Soul Guide Lantern is not relevant here. Yep. Seems reasonable. Okay. I can draw a lot of cards with these. I'm going to just hard cast one here. can play around Flusterstorm. See if we can find a Boseiju here. Ooh, Collector Roof. Jeez, that's a nice one. Okay. I think I do it. I realize Tinker is a risk here, but okay. Nope, no dice. Okay, they got a turn to do it. Now, I could be very proactive and kill this in the upkeep to try and keep them off of Tinker, but I don't think it's worth it. I think I would much prefer to try and Once Upon a Time and dig into a Boseiju if they find one. They're down to 5 life here. Like, it's probably just... Yeah, see, I'm pleased to see them do that. Okay. I wonder if they know they didn't have to fetch there. Okay, I'm obviously don't want them to Ancestral, but I'm reasonably pleased with that. They've already played a land this turn. Their Moxes are turned off. They cannot Tinker me here. So I feel like we've got this one locked up. Tabernacle doesn't do it. I guess they could technically Swords my Collector Roof and go off that way. That is, I guess, a real possibility. But another nice clean win through combo. Yeah, I feel really good about that. I don't actually know if my opponent was playing PO. This could just be Esper Tinker that they're on. Like, these are Esper colors, and this opponent has a lot of 5-0s with this particular deck, but I know most recently the results are pointing towards PO, so not actually sure if we played the PO matchup there, but it certainly was combo-esque, and we have to feel very good about our deck's versatility here. Super strong win. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Feel free to leave any comments, and we're going to see you for round 5. Hey everybody, it's Andy here, aka Montolian. We're back for round 5 of our Vintage League, and we run into our buddy Aaron, who is a standstill aficionado, and we're going to mulligan this one. Can I gamble on this hand? It's pretty bad if it doesn't work. We are on the draw. I think we just have to... it's so tough. I think we just got to be disciplined. I think Aaron's too good of a player with a pause like that not to punish me for casting the Once Upon a Time. I was willing to keep that hand and gamble on it. It was so obtusely powerful. Okay, hopefully this is not a standstill right away. I have to cast the hollow one here. I don't have a choice. I'd love to get the vine back, but it's not priority number 1 right now. And if they wasteland here, yeah, it's not good for us, but it's not the end of the world either. They're down to 3 cards here. They shuffled. Okay. Need a bit of help here. Double Cradle is not ideal. Kind of like Once Upon a Time, to be honest. Can I get greedy? This gets underneath Standstill. To find a Standstill, it's a bit of a roast for me, but I can still play through Standstill. I think we get rid of a Cradle. I think I get rid of a Once Upon a Time. It's just the discard equity is really rough for me here. I'm just not keen. I think I'm going to get rid of the Root Walla. I don't think we need to be greedy here. It is not optimal. I understand that we're not getting these vines back. I'm playing this out as a warning to my opponent. I'm hoping they will be a little bit more sheepish around playing anything into my wasteland here. Okay, let's see if they get a basic. I don't think they run basics. Stand corrected. Time walk. Okay, that's a good one. Stand corrected. They have basics. I think we can afford to get rid of the Boseiju here. I actually think Cradle's very little value here. I'm going to play the other Bazaar here, and I'm going to, next turn, potentially just super churn to get my vines in. And I may do it now if they throw a Standstill on the stack just to try and get another Root Walla underneath. Okay, that's not the worst. I'm going to play this out, and I think I'm going to do this. And now we're going to super turn. We hit. It's possible they have Snapcaster here, but we're not playing around that. Okay, your go. I find this match to be not particularly on the Hexvine version, but Bazaar against the Standstill deck to be quite difficult. One of the best cards against these types of strategies is Swords to Plowshares, and of course there are ample in my opponent's deck. So I think Boseiju is pretty good in general. I don't know if we actually need 4 of them, but something to consider. I could see us wanting a basic. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not expecting Boseiju out of them. Perhaps we want a Deathrite. Probably can get rid of Holgak because of the presence of swords. I don't know that we really want Chalice, but as we saw earlier, it's something that I am evaluating as being an option, is putting this on 1, despite it at first glance is quite poor. Because my opponent is a Standstill player, and they're probably not even on Standstill anymore, there is a world where we could shave a Blazing Root Walla, but we don't ever really want to get them going on 1. As you can see, there could be a world where we want Endurance. I think I might bring in 1. I think Force of Vigor in general is not great against what they're doing. I'm open to a couple. Let's try this, guys. Yeah, this is a very reasonable hand. I'm going to keep. It's awkward. I mean, this is just a very common example of the awkwardness of this particular hand or this particular type of deck. You know, you don't really want to discard your Hexdrinkers or your Deathrite Shamans, but it's just the world you live in. You just have to do it. So this is awkward because my opponent has a library going. Okay, so we're going to discard this, and I think we can ditch a Hexdrinker, but maybe we do want one. It's got to be better than Deathrite Shaman, right? I think so. Let's see what we do. Like my opponent doesn't really want to interact with anything I'm doing. Oh, that's pretty awkward. Okay. Super awkward start to our game here, but at least we have the Boseiju in hand. Our opponent probably is going to wasteland us here. Okay, tab. Yep, it's totally fine. I prefer that over the wasteland. The good news is we didn't get absolutely fried by it because of the awkwardness of our hand. Let's see what we can find here. A cradle would be great. Well, I should have been more specific, shouldn't I have? Yeah, a Maya cradle. I guess we can pay for all of these. Probably dump an endurance here. Of note, by playing the Yavimaya, I have turned on their creature, which is not ideal, but this does allow us to pay for our stuff here. I don't think I'm going to pay for the blazing. Yeah, you see, this is not overly impactful at this stage. Like, yes, I'd like to use the Bazaar, but, like, how important is it? Now, I get my opponent is just laying the beats on us with drawing cards here. It's not what we want, but... Okay. Probably just a Swords to Plowshares is my guess. Yeah, it's just the swords, right? Okay. Yep. Not a surprise there at all. We're losing this one pretty good, but it is what it is. And I think this is what makes the standstill matchup so hard, is that they just are chock full of control. And they really make it difficult for you post board. They have so many tools, but their best one is Swords to Plowshares, without a doubt. I mean, we're nowhere near that really. I guess we could draw Boseiju and potentially do something about it, but I think that's okay. Now I can knock this down to 2, which I might be needing to do. I can't quite get this up to the point where I want to be able to. I don't really want them drawing a card off this, but if I cast double Hexdrinker, it could be good. But they can just bounce. All right, I'm gonna pump. I'm gonna put their Teferi down. I just think it's worth doing. I'm not thrilled about it, but it is what it is. This is a really difficult card for us. And I could see this getting a force out of them, or a misstep possibly. If it does, I'm not displeased with it because it takes them off of Library. Library is the card that is winning for them this game. But guys, look at our Bazaars. They are very relevant here. Now, I don't think I'm going to have the luxury of getting this Hexdrinker up to where I need it to be, but I think Swords to Plowshares is just a very realistic card that they have in their hand here, but if they don't, it's very good for me. Okay, they're going to put that on Hexdrinker. Makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. But Sage was not bad. If I can find a Gaia's Cradle and get this off, that will be pretty strong. Okay, let's get in here. I'm going to send both it to Fairy Time Raveler. And the reason is I think they have a Swords to Plowshares. No. Okay. I've got 2 mana available to me here. Maybe I just if there's ever a world like they didn't hit me with swords there, so I don't know. Maybe they're just toying with me because they want to keep drawing cards off their library. It's a lot of land. They could just bring their Timeless Dragon into play here. And kind of forgot about that in the yard, but I think it's okay. It's a 4/4. And what do I do? Get my Bazaar going again? Or take the Hexdrinker line away? Kind of feel like Hexdrinker is a pretty good card to get back here. If they want a Swords, that I have more. It's an interesting line because Bazaar is important, but I kind of feel like Bazaar's kind of already done a pretty good job here, right? It's not bad. I guess I just kind of got to do this, right? Maybe I should have let this go. There are 6 cards. Make them go down to 5 if I start pumping. But I can't actually do anything with it. That's the issue. Just going to do it. This is not optimal, guys. I mean, Collector Roof was a reasonable thing to do there. But I really want to try and get this Hexdrinker going. And who's to say they have another Swords in their hand or whatever? Like, if they bounce this or kill it, I mean, yeah, that's completely reasonable. But I mean, a Gaia's Cradle off the top really changes our situation here in a big way. Flusterstorm, okay. Flusterstorm's not very good. Okay, so they have Prismatic Ending. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to scoop from here. I just think that this is too hard for me to win through. I'm definitely bringing Chalice in. I just don't think Force of Vigor is good enough to warrant it. I saw Needles there. I get it. Maybe I just keep Force of Vigor. No. Oh dear. Let me put a powder back and think of Vengevine. This is pretty ugly, guys. Hmm. This is ugly stuff. Down to 3. All right. Well, here goes. Had some root wallows. Okay. I mean, Tabernacle gets us, but I mean, how can you ask for any better than that to a mulligan of 3, guys? Like, that's really strong, right? Then I mean, we just pretty much lose if the Tabernacle's there. But if they don't have it, we got a shot. Okay. This is swords. I'm gonna spin. Yeah. Okay, there's a vine. I don't mind that. Wasteland? That's unfortunate. I think there's a reasonable chance we're going to get hit with a tab here, but not for sure. I mean, my opponent's dead next turn. Swords will not get them there. Okay, that's good news for me. Hopefully they don't find the tab. They did shuffle. Wow, guys, we went on a mulligan to 3. I mean, very fortuitous for that to happen there. I felt like we were going to lose that match for sure, but we're going to take that. A really nice win there, and I think a really good showcasing of how strong this deck is. Despite I think we had a little bit of misfortune there in Game 3 of Round 5. We were able to win it, but the percentages of that are happening are very small. But the bottom line is that this deck is extremely versatile. It plays pretty decent without Bazaar, and I do like the addition of the third Yavimaya Cradle. I think it really opens us up to being able to. It is our number 1 card for being able to play around turn 1 Pithing Needles and Spyglasses, and helping us to spur on our game plan of just hard casting our spells and winning that way. So that said, guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed the videos. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we're going to see you next time.